OLA Live, the conference, super conference, a universe of possibilities. What does that mean to you? You hear a universe of possibilities. What is?
That's a good question. Well, I think one of the things, I am a big believer in sort of what if questions and possibilities and where places can go. Sort of a yes and approach to life rather than no, we can't do that because. And I think connection to libraries is, I actually think libraries provide that jumping off point for many people.
I think you're right. I mean, the libraries are about the possibilities. Tell our viewers who you are, how you get to be at this conference. What do you do? What do you do for a living?
Sure. So I'm currently head of the Learning Commons at the University of Guelph Library.
Okay.
So basically, the library provides a lot of academic support for students through their programs at university. And so I help oversee kind of what we're doing in terms of research or information literacy, but also oversee teams that do writing, learning and studying help, that sort of thing. Okay. I'm also, interestingly enough, at Guelph, I teach the course in entrepreneurship. So I teach for the Department of Marketing and Consumer Studies, and I'm really interested in the whole startup mindset, partly because I think startups don't have a lot of money, and libraries also don't have a lot of money.
No.
So I think we can learn a lot from how they approach problem solving. And so that's my latest interest in terms of like sort of joining and meshing these two worlds together.
And how do you see entrepreneurship in libraries? There's a lot of talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, entrepreneurship is sort of a hot topic in higher education in general. There's a lot of debate about it. I think for libraries, what entrepreneurship does is it's really about providing value to customers, but it's also spending a lot of time understanding those customers and where they're at. And I think in our case, libraries, we often say we're everything to everybody, but the problem with that is then you're almost nothing to anyone too, because you're spread so thin. And I think entrepreneurship and startups and people who think like that have a much more targeted approach and a tested approach too. So they test their ideas before they invest whole hog and they, that sort of thing. And I just think we need to wake up and realize that sort of we need to demonstrate more value, not just shout about it. We need to actually demonstrate it, and I think they have a lot of clues and methods and techniques that we could actually borrow.
There's actually one technique that you use, and this was Lego, I heard.
Yeah.
What do you do with Lego? You're going to speak about this, I think, in Computers and Libraries?
I am, yes. I'm going to do a Lego workshop. Basically, I'm a Lego Serious Play facilitator, which uses Lego bricks in a facilitated process to encourage conversation.
Okay.
So
how do I see this? A lot of people build Lego?
So basically, a table of 6 to 8 people, you've got your set of Lego, and I'll ask you to build, so let's say I say build a strength. So you're building kind of an abstract concept, and then you're telling a story about the thing that you built to everyone around the table. And I think one of the things that I like about it is there's always lots of laughter when you're building,
Lego.
and people like Lego.
Yeah.
And it forces everyone to kind of have an equal opportunity to talk. But because you've built this thing externally, you're actually talking about this thing that's quite literally on the table, and it encourages a lot of creativity. And I find that you can also remember a lot about what other people say.
Once you just made
something, you take
it with you, and you take the whole idea of the workshop.
Exactly. So I love it. I love doing
Excellent. I somehow I hear voices all around me at this conference.
Those voices.
I don't know where they come from, but I have to talk. A startup event, and I have to
Sure.
hear you say something about that.
Sure. So because I teach the entrepreneurship class, I was exposed to an organization called Startup Weekend, which basically in communities around the world run an event where designers and developers and business people kind of converge in a single location, come up with a business idea, and then they work all weekend, and then they pitch it on Sunday night, this prototype. So I went as a participant the first time, explored it, loved it. It was a very different style of work than what I do in a typical day at a university. And so what I thought we needed an event like that for libraries. So we contacted the organization and said, hey, could we run a library themed event? So we're still doing startups and startup methods, but being focused on libraries. And they love the idea, and Toronto was a natural place to run it with the Toronto Public Library and all the universities.
Sounds amazing to me.
So at the end of March this year, we're going to have a bunch of librarians or library staff, a bunch of designers, and a bunch of developers all coming together at Mozilla's community space in Toronto. And we're going to spend the weekend coding and building websites.
I want to be there.
I'd love it if you were there.
It's really
That'd be great.
Okay, so we get to the question like what if you have to finish the sentence? The world needs libraries because what would you say?
The world. Well, I think the world needs libraries because we are momentum builders. I think we're the place where people and information and technology intersect, but without the ulterior motive of profit or power, and that I think libraries at their core believe in sort of these higher order things like accessibility, equality, education, and I think any experience someone has with a library is a push forward. Definitely. And that's what I think the value is for us.
And working with startups and working with entrepreneurs, you know how important it is to have that direct contact with your customers,
absolutely,
with your patrons. Do you think libraries are on the right track, or getting better at that, or not?
Yeah, I think overall we're getting better. I think we need to get on it quick. I don't want us to be irrelevant. I don't think we are, but I think for a long time we've sort of accepted or assumed our role was a given. And as the shift towards digital and others, the internet and that, people are starting to say, well, what value does the library bring? And I think but I think you're seeing pockets of innovation that are really starting to demonstrate what we need and then are justifying increased resources, right? I mean, if you can't do that, you don't deserve the resources. It's harsh, but it's true, and that's the same for us too.
And when you look at people who inspire you or things that inspire you, what do you?
Yeah, it's interesting. Things that inspire me are new ideas. I love the idea of thinking about what's possible. Lately, my favorite startup. Oh, you caught me off guard there. You know what?
Well, one that springs to mind. One that you remember that you say, okay.
Oh, that is a really good question. I have to think about that one. I have to
okay,
come back
we
to
go
that.
To another one.
Before
we get there, that will no doubt spring to mind for you. If you're not answering that one, I want to hear your memories of the OLA conference, because this is an anniversary. I mean, you've been here before.
Yes.
It's absolutely an amazing conference. Lots of people going on. What are your? Share me one memory.
Sure. One memory. I can't remember which conference it was. I came to hear Daniel Pink talk, and he was speaking about a whole new mind, and the idea that the future is about people who can understand and think more creatively and tell stories. And I don't typically make it here for the Wednesday night opening, but that year I did, and I'm so happy.
I saw him, yeah.
Yeah, he's a great speaker. He has great content, but I think also it endorsed sort of what I've been feeling all along, that we have to demonstrate a certain flexibility of thought.
Key to survival.
Yeah, for survival, and also that's how I think. So the whole design thinking angle it just percolated for me. Overall, the conferences, I love the large keynotes. Lately, as I've become sort of more familiar with others here, it's a great chance to just network and have meetings about whatever. So I'm meeting a number of people about Startup Weekend just to help them understand what we're trying to do. And Toronto's just a nice location for that.
Startup Weekend is absolutely brilliant. We have to close up. Do you still have that startup?
You know what? I can think of lots of startups in the library world. I like companies like SpringShare, who seem to really understand what libraries need. A lot of startups are equated with technology, so there's a ton of that sort of angle. But I'm interested more in startups who adopt the mindset, and it's less about technology. So I was trying to think of a good example, and it's nothing's coming to me.
Okay, you're doing well. if you next year's conference is in your hands.
Yes.
What would you do? What if you had total power and money? You can do anything.
I love that question. You know what I think we need? this is a great conference for people to present on what they've done. But it follows a very traditional format of, you know, one person at the front speaking to a bunch of people in the room. And I think the single thing we could do to really improve it is sort of make an active learning or increase the engagement of the participants and use the wisdom of the crowds here to actually demonstrate the value and not have it only be about professional development and presentations and really get people interacting. Because the power is in the network. It's such a diverse group of people here representing diverse communities and diverse sectors of the profession, and we can't let that value just sort of dissipate on Friday or Saturday.
The wisdom of the crowd, 2015.
There you go.
Excellent.
Something
Thank
like
you
that.
so much for being here.
It was great.